Big week in the race for 2020 as we all saw the first Democratic debates of the season. And as I said in my open, the Democrat clown car is completely overloaded. Earlier, I sat down in a Justice exclusive with Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and the president's son, Eric Trump. I asked his take on the debates, and we discussed exactly what happened to him during a vile incident this week in Chicago. Take a look. Good evening, Eric. I appreciate your being here. It's been quite a week, and, you know, we watched two presidential debates, primary debates on the other side. Were there any winners?
Honestly, I think the New York Post got it perfectly, right? Who wants to lose the election? When they're talking about giving illegal immigrants, people who came to this country illegally, paying for everything for everybody, not having any real proposals on how it's actually going to get paid for, how it's going to get funded, yet they're not taking care of the citizens of our own country. That's a real problem, and I think it's going to backfire on them. And, you know, they asked the question, you know, are you going to give free health care to every illegal immigrant who's come to this country? And everybody raised their hand, meaning raise their hand as if they would. Yeah. Are you going to do anything to close the border? Right? Not a single person raised their hand. It's a joke, Judge. We have people in this country who need help still, right? My father's done unbelievable things, but there are still people who have trouble paying for certain costs, paying for insulin, paying for, and what, you're going to throw another 30 million people that are dependent on the United States government on that system? It's not going to work. It can't work.
It can't work. And, you know, it's interesting you say 30 million because I've been thinking, you know, I'm so tired of people saying it's 11 million. It's not 11 million anymore. It was 11 million 7 years ago. And between October of 2018 and the end of June this month, there's 1 million people who came in.
No, it doesn't matter if it's 20 million. It doesn't matter if it's 30 million, right? I mean, the reality is you have people in this country that need help. You also have healthcare costs in this country, which have gone up because Obamacare is absolutely a disaster, that have gone up by leaps and bounds every single year. You have people in this country, you can take that money, you can allocate it in a different way, but for them to come out and say, listen, we're going to give this free to this person, we're going to give this free, we're going to let everybody get driver's, you know, Bill de Blasio in this state alone wants to have every person have, every illegal immigrant have a driver's license.
And they do. The bill was signed.
Do they now get to vote? I mean,
they're going to use it to vote.
When do we start putting, and that's what my father does better than anybody, when do we start putting the citizens of this country ahead of everybody else? And that's exactly what these people are not doing, and that's exactly why the New York Post had this headline, who is going to lose?
But Eric, doesn't that beg the question, who do they work for? What is their interest in bringing in people who didn't vote for them, who don't pay taxes? Why are they more committed to them than to us? And if you don't believe that, we have to pay for them because I guarantee you, Eric, not one of them coming across that border has more than $20 in their pocket.
You know what? And not one of them is answering the real questions. Not one of them is saying how they're going to pay for any of this. I mean, they're going to bankrupt this country. So we're going from a spot right now where we have the greatest economy our nation has ever seen, the lowest unemployment, wages are skyrocketing. I mean, by comparison, right? Europe grew at 0.4% last quarter. We grew at almost 4% last quarter. We're 10x what Europe is. You look at what China is. China's, I mean, their economy is going like this.
Right.
Our economy is going like this. Yep. We are doing the best of any country in the world. And now it's just, let's let everybody in. Let's let everybody in the world in. Let's pay for the health care. Let's pay for everything. Let's pay for all their costs and expense. Let's pay for the environmental issues of the entire world. And you know what? The American taxpayer is going to do that. And we're not being helped by anybody. It's that kind of system that has put Europe where it is right now. It's that kind of thinking that's created the Venezuelas. We've seen this movie before. I mean, we've watched this movie with Europe, and it didn't work out well for them. We watched this movie with Venezuela. It has not worked out well for them.
But do you think that the American people understand the danger that people like this in saying that we're going to pay for everything for them, from health care to food to education on down? Do you think that the American people are buying that, or do you think that the illegals are actually voting? Beto O'Rourke wants them to vote as soon as they get here. Licenses in New York that they've gotten as illegals are going to be used as identification to vote.
But you need their pandering, right? I mean, you start with Beto. Beto's opening statement was in Spanish, right? In a primary for president of the United States, his opening statement was in Spanish. I'm surprised Elizabeth Warren didn't start speaking Cherokee, in all the fairness. I mean, they were all pandering. So we're going to do this for you. We're going to do this for you. We're going to provide this free. Now, they're not saying how they're actually going to do it. Clearly, our nation can't afford it. But I do think Americans are incredibly smart people. They see through nonsense. They see through BS. And I think they see this as pandering. I certainly see it as pandering. But
okay, it is. All right. Now, let's assume that it's the Americans who are voting. I think there's no question that this kind of thing is going to be poo-pooed and they're going to say that's nonsense. It depends on who's voting. And if in the end, all of these illegals who've been coming in are voting, we got a real problem. But I want to move on to something, and that is the radicals on the left and how they're treating people who are to the right and disagree with them. This week, you were spat on, I call it spit on, by someone in Chicago. I mean, literally, was she a waitress? What happened?
Yeah, a waitress at a restaurant came up and spit in my face. And
she spit at you. I mean, who learns how to spit? I mean, who does that?
Listen, it's a heinous act. I don't think it's reflective of parties. Now, I think that there's almost no tolerance on the left. They always call themselves the tolerant left, and you see very little tolerant out of that. Now, I don't think that's an action that's indicative of a party. I think you have a person who's sick, but you see these cases time and time again. Look at Jussie Smollett. Look what happened there. I mean, just look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders when she's in restaurants getting screamed at. Look what happens to Ted Cruz. Look at certain people saying,
out of places.
When they're down, go up and kick them in the face. It's your duty to harass, anybody who. Look what they do with us. Look at the way they abuse us, weaponizing the legal system, subpoenaing everybody, trying to, literally bleed people dry in terms of legal fees. Anybody who's ever worked for the administration, the way they treat these young interns and other things. I mean, it's horrible. That's their motive.
That's their vengeance for your father having won.
They know they're losing. They know he's done everything he said he was going to do and so much more, right? I mean, the one thing that the media, as fake as they are and as horrible as they are, the one thing that the media cannot deny is my father's done everything that he said he was going to do and quite frankly, much more, right? I mean, our country's winning again. We're succeeding again. Our economy is the best it's ever been. Our military's back. Our veterans are being taken care of. We're respected around the world. Look at my father at the G20 this whole week. We're respected around the world. We're not getting ripped off by China. We're not getting ripped off by Mexico anymore. I mean, he's doing an unbelievable job. And what's their platform right now? I mean,
it's all hate. It's hate Donald Trump.
What's their platform? Give free benefits to everybody in the world, which we can't afford. Spend $91 trillion on a Green New Deal when every other country in the world is far larger polluters than we are. Ban plastic straws. I mean, that's like de Blasio's big thing. Let's get rid of all plastic straws. I mean,
wow.
They're not
They
serious
don't have
people.
anything. Their only plan is we hate Donald Trump. They have no policy. But I want to follow up with the last question. You made a decision not to have that woman arrested. Why?
It's an interesting decision. I think a lot of people say, listen, they would have done it to you. Could you imagine if that would have happened on the opposite side? If somebody would have spit on one of the Obama children, which would have been absolutely unacceptable if they would have done it to Chelsea Clinton. I mean,
but you made the decision not to.
Because you know what? Sometimes you have to be the bigger person. You have to take the high road. In fact, I said, listen, tell her to go have a nice night. And they released her. They were about to take her down to jail, right? I mean, Secret Service arrested her and the Chicago PD, which is amazing. Quite frankly, the mayor of Chicago gave me a call, which was incredibly kind. And she goes, listen, if you ever decide to press charges, you let me know and I will make it happen instantly. She had zero tolerance for those games, right? Which is really nice to see. But unfortunately, you have some sick, deranged people out there. And,
there's a lot of them.
By the way, that would have been probably the least of the problems, I'm sure, in this person's life. And I don't know. You just have to move on with yours.
You're a bigger man. I give you credit for that. Eric Trump, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks.